Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Major. This is their part number HIT-41RC9. This is what's called a router template. This is for a specific Rutherford electric strike. Rutherford is the manufacturer of the strike. Their model number is S6507. And this would be used in an application where you have a swinging door hung in an offset fashion, butts or pivots or continuous geared aluminum hinges. And that's what this is. This template is going to allow you to basically put a router onto the aluminum jamb and cut out, not in this sort of fashion, but remove all that material for you to get that strike installed. And where this, let's back up, where that Rutherford strike is used is when you have a bolt and you need to change that bolt to a latch. Not uncommon at all to need to do that because, well, if you want access control, that bolt is going to be hard to release with access control. So adding an electric strike allows you to have access control, but then you need to convert to a latch, a dead latch. The other time that we see it, and doesn't apply necessarily to an electric strike unless you're doing two things at once, is the inspector says, yeah, that bolt's got to go. I've got to have an exit device because of occupancy, the quantity of occupancy, how many people are there. So that bolt's got to come off, and you'll install a latch. And you can install an exit device that incorporates a latch. If you are installing an exit device that incorporates a latch and you want an access control, you could use this and add your electric strike. But the point is the overall height of that S6507 allows you to mortise or machine away all that aluminum material and install that strike and then add your latch. Why is it taller? Well, because the cutout in the jamb for the bolt, because it swings up, is much larger. Whereas the hole that you require for the latch is actually quite small. So you need a bigger faceplate, really is what it is, to cover all of that preparation. Let's take some basic dimensional properties of this template and then we'll go from there. The overall height, about 11 inch. The overall width in terms of the rabbet part of the frame is about 2.5 inch. The overall width on the face of the frame about 2.5 inch. And the aluminum thickness is 1/2 inch. And it weighs 1.83 pound. A nice green anodized color. Nice fit and finish on this material. They have marker indicators here to help you line things up when you are attaching this, when you're transposing dimensions, which we'll get to in a moment. It will also include screws that you will use to attach the aluminum template right down to the jamb through these holes. Okay. It will also include basically a packet. This is the installation instructions. There are 12 pages in this document, and the reason there's 12 pages sounds like a lot of information. It is. It's everything you need to know and really nothing more. But the reason it's 12 pages is because they use really big fonts, lots of nice pictures, and they make it really easy to read is the bottom line. So let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look. Actually, no, forgive me. Let's talk about exactly what you're going to use this for. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So that application that I just described is exactly where you're going to use this, where you need to add that electric strike. That strike is going to require a rather large cutout in the face of the frame, and then that 6 7/8 tall preparation in the rabbet of the frame. Okay, and the important part about where you locate this is basically going to be make the center line of the keeper in the electric strike match the center line of the latch bolt coming out of the edge of the door. Now, if you measure the top of the door to the center of the latch and it's 44 inch, when you stick that tape measure to the underside of the header, you need to come down to 44 1/8 inch because you have that 1/8 inch margin. But generally, the installation instructions and people in general, they're not measuring that way, even though that's how I do it. Just because I think that's how templates really call things out. They reference door dimensions. So if we're referencing door dimensions, we'll reference frame dimensions as well. And the installation instructions will show us all they're doing is getting assuming the latch is installed on the edge of the door and then just transposing those marks literally to the frame with a pencil. And then these 2 score marks that are here is what you're going to reference. Okay, so that works. So let's do this. Let's switch to the screen view and let's go through the installation instructions page by page. I have personally mortised for every piece of hardware that there is in wood. I have mortising aluminum is really no different with a router, except that it's a lot louder and less pleasant, I suppose, to do. Although there's less sawdust. And in steel doors and frames, prep for pretty much everything that you would put there. So I do have an understanding of the approach it takes to prep something for a piece of hardware. So let's switch to the screen view and take a closer look. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. All right, here's that item that we are looking at from Major. The HIT-41RC9 router template for the Rutherford S6507 electric strike. Extended description information, router template, used to install that with a 6 7/8 overall height faceplate. Round corners, if you happen to have a strike that's got that same template and it's got square corners, you'll just square those corners out with a file. This strike is designed when removing a deadbolt lock and replacing it with a dead latch. That's according to Major. The larger faceplate covers the long opening left by the deadbolt strike. And there's generally not a deadbolt strike, but there could be, I suppose. But generally it's just a slot, a rectangular slot, or a trapezoidal type slot in the jamb for a deadbolt strike. Mounts to the door and frame with self-drilling screws that are supplied. Requires the use of a router equipped with a 3/8 outside diameter template guide and a 1/4 inch diameter router bit. That is extremely important. In fact, if you do not have those 2 exact size pieces of equipment, this is not going to work, or not work completely. The installation instructions will likely talk about that with some photos, so we'll address it there. This is used on offset hung aluminum doors and frames, and when you buy one, we'll ship you one. Let's click below this video as seen here. Okay, so installation instructions. And this is exactly what is in the package. So cover page, stop, read all the installation instructions first. Your router must be equipped with a template guide prior to use. Failure to do so will result in the wrong size prep in the door. It's going to damage the template, damage the tool, damage the frame. Aluminum door templates require a 3/8 outside diameter with a 1/4 inch diameter bit. Okay, so yeah, okay, let's keep going here. Air and eye protection. I like to use a mask as well because I don't want to breathe in these micro particulates. I know that they exist. And I know that I've breathed in my share of metric tons worth over the decades. So it's the eyes and the ears, but protect the lungs as well, is my opinion. Yeah, there you go. Always use eye and ear protection. Now, let's take a look at what they're showing us. Your router needs to be equipped with a 3/8 outside diameter template. And that's right here. It's a router guide. So it has to be 3/8. Doesn't matter if you have Bosch or Porter Cable or DeWalt or 100 other people. As long as it's 3/8, you're fine. Because, let's show you some photographs. The packaging, what's in the packaging, the template itself. Because the size of this and the size of this. If you know that you need to have 3/8 of an inch router guide diameter, and we know that that faceplate is 6 7/8 overall height, we can make an educated guess as to what the height of this is, because we know that it's 3/8, but we also know that we have a 1/4 inch bit, so that relationship leaves 1/8 of an inch. So if we need to have 6 7/8, you can bet that the height of that is going to be 7 inch. And when I put my tape measure on it, yeah, that's what it is. It's 7 inch. So working this backwards, the good people at Major have created this size based on that absolute relationship of 3/8 and a 1/4 inch bit. Now, if you were using a 1/2 inch guide and a 3/8 bit, that's fine, but they would need to make this larger. But they've decided that that's what they're going to use and work with, and probably because of availability would be my guess. So if you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. An example of a guide, and we use them for Major offers them, and Sauce does as well. Here is the RGB 100 from Sauce. It's not the right size because it has a much larger OD, but I'm showing this to you because of the image, and this obviously bolts down to attaches to your router base, and it's that relationship there. Major does have these 3/8 outside guides, so they've got one for Porter Cable, DeWalt, newer model Craftsman routers, HIT-41RC9 G5. Porter Cable has sets of them that we sell as well, so you're going to need that. Then you're going to need a router bit, 2-flute carbide, 1/4 inch. I believe Major's going to have that as well. Major. Yeah. So 1/4 inch step down shear router bit. This would be the one, HIT-41RB4. This would be the one that they like to use for aluminum. Okay. Now, back to the instructions. So we've talked about that. It must be that, and they show that bit there as well. Now, let's move further. Install a 1/4 inch diameter aluminum cutting router bit into the router collet and secure tightly. Do not bottom the bit into the collet. Hold it about 1/16 of an inch from bottoming. Adjust the router so that it will route about 1/4 to 3/8 into the door channel. So what they're saying is the projection, the dimension from the tip of the router to the bottom of the base, make it about 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch. Adjust the relationship to how much your router is plunging that bit into the work. The electric strike being installed in the following demonstration is for an offset hung door. There are strike models available for both offset and center hung doors. If mounting in a center hung jamb, be sure there is depth clearance for the strike. I think what they're saying is that if you have a center hung application, and I am taking a bit of a guess as to what they mean. If you've got an aluminum frame, I mean, I would imagine that they're assuming that it's hung and that your template's going to sit out here, right? Because the template is an outside corner, basically. If you had a center hung, and I think what they mean is if you had a door that was center hung, which could be single acting, this template's not going to work because you're not clamping it on the outside here. So I think that's what they're referring to, would be my guess. We're assuming that the door fits in this area rather than, as a center hung unit here, which the hardware may permit it to double act, but your stop and your who knows what else may not permit it to double act. So that's what I'm thinking that they're assuming. Or I should not assuming. I think that's what they're trying to tell us. What I think that's what they're telling us. So here, this is where, right on the next page, page 5, we're almost halfway through the instructions, we're getting right down to it. For height alignment, let the door close to the jamb. Basically, mark off the top and bottom of the latch. Transfer those lines here, top and bottom. Combination square. If you don't own a combination square, you should, in the sense that when I saw someone using it in the shop, I realized, that's easy, rather than using other tools. Combination square is really a great tool for this type of door work. With the only exception is, to me, it had always been a little bit hard to read. So an easier unit to read I've always appreciated. So transfer those lines is what they're doing with the combination square. With that combination square, establish the center line of the strike. The door and strike need to have the same center line. So what they're saying here is it's the vertical center line. Okay, so the center line in the edge of the door needs to translate to a dimension in the center line of the rabbet of the frame. Now, in aluminum, you'll have flush and you'll have inset, so you need to account for that. So 7/8 is indeed 1/2 inch and 3/4, and if you've installed your latch directly in the center of an 1 3/4 inch thick door, that's great. If the lock is off-center, adjust it accordingly. It could be. You could have a 2 1/4 inch door and you've installed it biased towards the outside because you didn't have an extended lip strike. I suppose that could be the case. But if you had an inset application, you're going to need to adjust for what that inset is. It could be about 1/8 inch, but you'll need to check that. And actually, you can do that with a combination square as well. You can do it with a caliper. If the lock is off-center, adjust. The face of the electric strike and the face of the lock must be centered together when the door is closed. And they mean that vertical line that they've drawn here. And what he's done with this pencil, and he's just ran that combination square up and held the pencil hard against that and just ran it right up. Another good use of the combination square. So now, if you remember those score marks that I had mentioned earlier, which are here, let's finish up our photos. Face view, the back side. You can see those score marks here, and then here and here as well for your vertical center line, and then the centering of the latch. I would imagine they're definitely assuming an Adams Rite 45, 49, 47 cross section, so to speak. The screw pack that is included, and then your instructions. So you've got your score lines, and you have made sure that you are all set on that. I'm just scrolling ahead here. Yeah, I think what I was kind of looking for is, and it's not, this template may not be tight to the face of the frame. This is what's most important, that vertical center line. Okay, back to where we were. We're now attaching the template to the frame. We've got it vertically and laterally centered. They say that you should use a drill with a clutch feature so you don't snap the screws. That's never fun. Some of their HIT-41 templates have only one screw hole, and that's going to be dependent on the strike that you're doing. Because those holes, some have one, some have two, those holes will align with factory mounting tabs, which you'll need to attach the strike. How many holes will be dependent on the strike, and your template will give you a cue as to what you're going to need, because it'll have one or two holes. The second hole for the tab can be located by drilling a 9/64 drill bit or by attaching the second screw, is the bottom line. Template mounted, and now you're ready to go. They recommend using cutting fluid. I recommend that absolutely. Absolutely. All the time. Heat destroys tools. They recommend Tapmatic Edge Cream by LPS. Absolutely. I've used their white lithium when I'm working on locks. I believe lock manufacturers use their products. And they say that it's also a handy product for other drilling and tapping chores. So adjust the router bit so it's a 1/4 inch past the aluminum as shown. It doesn't need to stick into the work any further than necessary. You're going to place the router at the bottom of the template. Your collet is resting on the bottom of the template. Pardon me, your router guide. And you're going to be routing the lip area first, which is the face of the frame, rotating clockwise starting at the bottom. So your tool path is going to be clockwise. Let the router come to full speed and route through the side of the jamb. Be sure to hold the router flat against the template and do not back up in the cut. It's going to scream. It's going to be obnoxiously loud. It's going to chatter, but you've got to be very firm and you have to just press on. It's only aluminum, and carbide router bits or solid carbide bits do make easy work of it. Let the router come to a complete stop before you remove it. Once you've made your tool path, which is shown here, turn the machine off, hold it there. Do not remove it until it's completely stopped. Stop rotating. You'll note that they didn't route back out the face. Just stop when you get to that area. You're going to do the rest when you do the rabbet of the frame. Because if you run through the sidewall, you run the risk of hitting the template with the router bit, because your router base is no longer in good contact with a flat surface. So it could tip. You could lose control of the tool. Place the router at the bottom of the template. Let's see here now. Place the router at the top of the template now. You will be routing the faceplate area. The router guide should be touching the electric strike template with the bit not making contact yet with the frame. Turn it on, let it come to full speed, and route through the jamb. Be sure to hold the router flat, etc. Don't back up. Let it come to a complete stop when you're done. Now you're going to have this prep. And what they're showing previously is cleaning off your tool. I actually got to a point where I didn't mix tools between steel and wood, because these micro pieces of aluminum seem to get embedded in the router base, leaving micro scratches on wood doors. So, be mindful. Other people don't do that. I did, because the door wasn't for me. It was always for a customer, and I couldn't abide by there being micro scratches. So clean off the tool when you're done. I like to have someone there with a shop vac collecting the aluminum chips and burrs immediately as they're created. Clean off the piece itself. Then you make a second pass, a second clean pass. You don't go any further. You don't make more than 2 passes, just one more pass to clean it off. Same procedure as before, clockwise, clockwise. Okay. Then you're going to remove the template from the jamb. Clean the area left from the cutting lube and chips. Make sure to use a brush to remove the chips. They are sharp, they are. And you also don't want to just wipe them off. You don't want to scratch a dark bronze anodized finish. Then you'll use a tooling to clean that off, to make it nice, clean, burr-free. You will treat the corners as they need to be treated with a file, squaring them off, most likely for sure here. Either leaving them radiused here or here, and you'll have an 1/8 of an inch radius with that 1/4 inch bit. If you need, I believe that radius corner is actually greater than an 1/8 of an inch, so you might need a rat tail file to make that a little bit larger, or square corner it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to prep for the mounting tabs for the strike. It's time to drill out the holes needed for the factory mounting tabs, which are going to come with the S6507, the Rutherford strike. Use a 3/16 drill bit for this job. Note the template in this case uses 2 mounting holes, top and bottom. Some strikes only require 1, as we said. You've already got the holes located. You're going to drill them to 3/16. Then you're going to countersink them, and countersink them according to the size of the screws. My guess would be a number 10, maybe a 12. Now you're prepped. You're going to attach the mounting tabs that come with the strike. Oops. As they're showing here, top and bottom. That's really easy. You want to make sure you don't drop anything down there. If you do, you'll always want to have a magnet and a piece of string with you. If that tab were to fall down in there, you should be able to sneak your magnet down there and pick up that tab or that screw. Pull it back up. Connect the wire leads, obviously. You can then insert your strike, tighten it down, and I believe the technical term is voila, you're done. Oops. Finished. That's all there is to it. Yeah, easy, simple, and straightforward. You can do this by hand with a jigsaw, sure. But my goodness, you're not going to have nearly as a clean job as this. And if you are out in the field, if you're a locksmith, it's easy to justify the high cost of tooling or templates. They're all expensive regardless of what you're buying. So that's pretty handy. Now, here is that S6507 so that you can just get a look at what that is. The keeper is in the center line of the strike face, therefore the center line of the latch needs to be there as well. Just to show you what that looks like. Okay, there is a link below this video to the product brochure, and that's pretty handy. That will allow you to look at other strike templates. Okay. Von Duprin 5100 series. Rutherford, Adams Wright material. This is a nice guide for doing a deadbolt strike prep in a frame when it's just a slot, you know, like I said, that weird trapezoidal shape. That's what it is right there. So lots of fun things here for mortising. Now there's a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page. Let's take a look at that. And from this page, we can review not only all of the major products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the... Let's look at the Aluminum Door Series Owner's Manual first. This is going to be a collection of installation instructions, and is likely included... Well, okay, it might... I think what it is just an overview of installation instructions as it pertains to doing aluminum door work. So that's a pretty handy document. The product catalog is here, and I would certainly recommend that you review this because it's 108 pages of all things template related from Major. If you're a locksmith, if you are an engineer, if you're a handyman, if you're a contractor, a distributor, you might want to look through here to see what they have, because you may not be aware of it. You may not be aware that Major has all of these things. Here are the mounting tabs that we were just talking about. They sell those as well. Security hardware, cylinder rings, other tools used for preparations of material, locksmithing tools, screw kits, extend a cylinder types of hardware, where you can, with these extensions, if you needed a 3-inch mortise cylinder, literally, I don't know what my record is, but it's probably at least 3-inch. You can definitely build one. If you've got a 1-inch long mortise cylinder, you could get a couple of these 1-inch extensions. You'd have to get longer 832 screws from a industrial hardware supply, but you could build, and I can do them in, if I'm being very careful. And I have done this multiple times. And why would you need a 3-inch mortise cylinder? Well, you know, if you're in the business, you can imagine why. You have unusual door thicknesses, or you have unusual locations of lock sets. I mean, 3 inch is obviously an extreme example, but nonetheless, it does happen. And I can prove it. So contact us in the upper right-hand corner of the site. Click Video Gallery. Then in here, yeah, right here, Kaba Ilko converted to a 1 1/4 inch cylinder turned into a 2 1/4 inch cylinder. There's a video of me actually doing it. Photo 8. Yeah, so here's, I don't recall what length these were. I just made these relatively recently. This could be 2.5 is what this could be. Oh, the tape measure's right here. Forgive me. Yeah, 2.5 is what that is. So you've got 5-inch worth of cylinder there. Yeah, they got a really thick door is the bottom line. So yeah, Major can supply you with the material to do that. Close-up view of a cylinder that I've made. Anyway, so very interesting. And as you continue on through the catalog, you'll then start to get into the template part. Different series and platforms, different lock types that you're going to prep for, and all of it is extremely interesting to know that they have. Doing flush bolts are here. I'll leave the rest up to you to discover. So let's wrap up this video on camera. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience. And hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video. In conclusion, decent quality piece of equipment. They're a very simple, no-nonsense, straightforward company over at Major. You send them POs, they send you product. We slowly increase our inventory of that material. The common stuff we certainly try to have ready to ship. It's unusual for people to... You end up needing this material when you have the job. You know, you don't end up necessarily buying the template to say, yeah, someday I'm going to do a S6507 by Rutherford. So we try to keep that more common material ready to go. And also some uncommon material as well. I have had customers in the past order a whole mess of stuff because they knew the job was coming in 6 weeks. They had just ordered the locks. They knew they weren't going to do it by hand. That's always a good approach because then there's no pressure, no stress. You also will have the time to get the material and to make sure it all works. Make sure you understand how it works and what your approach will be to it. So I wouldn't hesitate to consider templates by Major. They're not the only company who makes this material, but they have, like other companies that are related, very much so related to locksmithing, they have a unique footprint of product in their catalog that you take Major and their competition basically, and you put all of that together. That becomes your arsenal, so to speak, of how you can go about conducting jobs. Major's a very important part of that. Any questions on the HIT? I've already forgotten the part number. 41RC9? Yeah, HIT-41RC9 or any other Major product. Please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.